Right, so yet another repair. This is one I've been stewing over for some time because it's just a bit of a nightmare job. So this is obviously the gutter. The gutter is a one piece, I understand. It's soldered in, but the only thing wrong with it is this hole here. Options, clean it up, put a piece of copper at the back of it, like that, and weld filled it. I don't think it's too big a repair. Bog it, not a hope in hell. So I'm gonna get a Dremel, or Dremel imitation, and cut out a small section and make a small panel and weld it in, which everyone's probably thinking, well, that's logic. Yep, except that welding up at an angle is not the easiest thing in the world to do. Well, it isn't for me, one. Two, if I weld on this side, I don't know if I'll be able to make it clean enough, grinding all the splatter off, which means I really don't get a choice. I'm going to have to weld it on this side. So, once again, bite the bullet. I'll cut out only the minimum I need and see how I go. Righto, time for a few little updates. Did the repair to the gutter, went against my own advice, decided to put a couple of little welds from the top down. Wish I hadn't have, because trying to grind them back out of there is just a nightmare. Not to worry, these things I discovered as we go to the front of the car were bogged out of factory anyway, so they were not smooth to look at, and in fact I had a bit of bog bulging out of here, and I took it out yesterday, and it looks bloody awful. It looks, oh no, there's a hole in it, but actually it's lead. That's all lead filler there, and when I was die grinding it out, it just, as you can see, it gouged out. I put a soldering on it to see that it would melt. Yes, it does. So there's lead filler all through here, just like on the rear. So all this area is lead as well. I see a bit of a ground there, so I'm going to have to fill that back up with some bog or something. Anyway, I'll get to that. So what I've done, there was a bit of rust, and I've ground it out, and that remaining surface was nice silver lead. So what I've done is I got rust converter into that hole there as best I can, washed it out. There was a little bit down there as well. All this, you can see, all that is original bog. So they fill these channels up with bog. That's how they bloody well did it. So I've converted it, flushed it, dried it, and just got a good quality primer in there, and I've just virtually filled the hole up with primer, so that'll be nice and sealed now. So panic over, because I didn't want rust in the roof, and I don't, so that's good. So along those same lines, I thought there was a bit more rust along here, because again, this was filled. This whole seam of the indicator or brake light back panel is just seam sealed all along there, you know, right up to where that wire holder retainer is for the loom. We'll take the loom out. So I just scraped it all out, and again cleaned it all out, wax and grease remover, and I filled it up with a product called Knockout Rust. It's over my bench, but anyway, this will dry, and that's what the stuff looks like there. You can wash it off with Kero, whatever, it'll come away, but once it goes nice and hard, you can also paint over it. So considering this is just going to be black, kill rust, or probably even that body deadener paint yet, I'm not sure what I'm going to do inside the boot here. I'm not worried about that, so I'd rather get rid of the old bog and coat that over. So that said, the LPG tank's out. I've got to remove the straps yet. And this was the hole for the LPG line going out, and there was a sealer over here, and you can see where that's at. So I've just cut a new blank out, and I'll unmodify what I modified. And these holes here, they're small enough that I reckon I can just fill well those, any spare holes. This one, can't get to it because that's actually the chassis rail under there. You can see the spot wells for the chassis. There. So Don't know, I'll probably put a rubber bung in that one, just filled up corrosion inhibitor. Can't remember what that hole there is for, to be honest with you, but also I think that might be in the chassis, so I'm not sure yet what I'll do with that. This is from the LP, one of the two LPG data plates the car had. I'll just fill those, and then my aim is to get the boot all cleaned up and sprayed up, and then we can move forward and drop the engine out, which is the next big thing. So this is some work I did before as well. This one here, you see this has a lip on it, so I was able to retain that one, didn't have that much rust in it. But this whole section, I had to cut it out and just manufacture it myself. I did that years ago, and I'm glad to say it hasn't rusted and looks all right, and the light fits up to it well. So continuing on. Right, actually recording this time. I've been talking to myself for a bit anyway. Where are we at? Well, the tank's out. So just getting to moving on with cleaning up the boot space. Just thought I'd show you this. My trusty magnet again, holding a piece of copper into place. So that's where the old LPG bracket was bolted through the chassis. So I had to drill those holes. So now I'm going to fill them back up and paint that area back over. You can see the bottom of that little panel I made up. That come up all right. We'll drop it down, have a look from the top. So I've already released the locks on the hoist here, so we can drop it down. So I don't advise you do that, but anyway, I know my hoist. Probably about low enough there. Near enough's good enough. So, gee, I want to mention these little things. As a good mate of mine says, you can always get it on Evil Bay. I bought a bag of these things. So, those little Scotch pads, they're like $3 each. They're just so expensive. You know, so I bought a bunch of them the other day, and they're $3 each. I'm like, bloody hell. There's got to be a cheap way. So I went on to the old eBay, Evil Bay, and I got a bag of these things for $50. And it's just, no, not 50, did I say 50? $15 for 50 of these things. And to be honest with you, for grinding away your weld after you've welded a hole or put a little patch panel on or whatever you've done, that's some of the work that's done there. Look, they wear out, but not too quick, and they're a bit brittle. But, you know, I think I did all that with one pad and it was still kicking. If you get onto a sharp edge like that, it'll just rip the bits in no time, but really effective, cheap as chips. So I'm going to go and buy hundreds of them, to be honest with you. Just fantastic. $15 for 50. You beauty. So tank's out because it wasn't a tank, it was just a bay. That's all gone. Like I said before, we'll clean this up today, scrape away all the original crap that was there. The car will never tow again. So I used to tow things to this car, but it'll never do that again. So that's the original factory wiring, believe it or not, or dealer wiring it would have been. It was done by a dealer in Orange. Was it Orange? I can't remember now. Mudgee, that's right, that's where the car's from. We'll remove all that and have a look at the wiring later and see if I need to crimp anything up or do any mods for the wiring. Just going to weld that hole up so you can see the copper is sitting just under that hole, so that gives you a base to fill the hole up with. And I'll go along, do the same over there, grind it flat. I've got the towel, not towel, the old sheet over the diff there because it's nice and pretty and we don't want to mess it up. So in fact my springs are nice and clean too, so they're all fresh paint, so I'll put some covers over them before I start making a big old mess here. Cheers. Forgot to mention, when you're welding, or I'm welding, you need a good earth. You really need a good earth whenever you're doing any job. So, you know, the earth's got to be clipped onto the car somewhere. So what I've done, and what I do wherever I'm doing a weld on the car, I find a nearby area and clean it up. You need a clean contact area, and then obviously the areas you're going to weld, you need to clean them up, whether you use a flappy paddle on a flappy, what do you call it, pad on a grinder, or I've just used a wire brush on the die grinder there, whatever you've got. But you need bare metal and good contact, otherwise you're not going to get a good weld. So just forgot to mention that. I know I haven't mentioned before, so yeah, I strongly advise you do that if you end up doing this. Alright, this is going to be far messier than I thought. Again, bog is the issue. So as you can see, I was digging this crap out. It is just crap. What the hell they were thinking back in the day, but anyway, see how they did things. They've used mixtures of sealant, and this is bog here, and that could be hiding some rust, and in fact that is hiding a little bit of rust, and there was a bit of rust in under here. So I need to penetrate this as best I can. Guess I can convert it down onto that one. You can see the seam line for when I welded this is the left hand quarter. See again, there's bog here, or sealant. The welder helps get rid of a lot of it and burns it off. Probably not ideal, but anyway, so it's making a shit ton of dust. So wearing the respirator, and I'll kick the other cars out of the garage because this is going to make a bloody mess. I've got to get it done. So anyway, so I'd show you that. See how they made them. As you can see, it's just they seam seal everything. Now I know that still goes on. In fact, I bought some sealant yesterday, some automotive sealant for this particular task. But gee, this is like bog. It's just as hard as a rock. And I certainly want it gone as far as I can. You know, I guess if there's good metal under that, then why rip it off, I suppose, is the question. But here, we need to clean that up better, because these things are a water trap. I don't know if you can see that, probably can't. And that's why you see a lot of these old XCs, Bs, you know, you look under here, in this area around the indicator, you'll find corrosion, because they're just a water trap. And pretty much promoted corrosion, because the way they sealed them up. So you'll never get a perfect seal by just putting slabs there like that, and you've created a water trap. So as best as I can, I'll remove it and try and prevent any more crap happening in the future as best as I can. Right, so again, some progress. I've cleaned it up. First stage, already swept the floor once. Pretty unholy mess, but looking not too bad now as you get there. So the welds come up pretty good. That was a hole, if you remember. There was 2 holes there as it turned out. I don't know what the one on the left was for. Wasn't really happy with the way that one ground down. I mean, not that it matters, it's in the bloody boot, so it doesn't matter. That one come up well. Can't really get to those really spots there because of the bracket for the spring tensioner bracket, or bracket for the boot mechanism, as it were, which I'm going to do some modifications to this as well. I might explain that later. It's just that I put these gas struts on, some modification I did there out of VS Commodore. I think I mentioned it, but there's too much flop and free play in those hinges. They're just a simple little pin. So I'll go for a machine bolt through there, so maybe take the holes out a little bit more, put a machine bolt in so there's less play, because what happens is when this pushes, it sort of lifts the boot up when the struts are in good nick off the seal a bit. So just by removing that play, that should cure that problem. Side issue. So yeah, just clean them up. That one come for right. Just do them again. I'll give them a grind down. These holes in here, so there was rust in here, so I thought I'll just fill them up. That'll come up pretty good, believe it or not. I'll do that one again. Didn't need to do that, but I thought, bloody hell, there's nothing really holding that bracket on. So you got this bracket here, and there's a spot there. There's, you know, a spot here and a spot there. This actually had nothing on it, it folded down. I actually need to put a spot on that because there was sealant in behind there. And point of case when I'm whinging about this amount of sealant they put in the car, if you can see my finger there, well, that is the hole that they need to seal up. That's it. So instead of just putting a small piece there, the way they did things, they just, you know, continued on down here. God knows why, but anyway, we've cleaned it up. I'll clean that up more and put knockout rust down first. Same with that. So I'll put some sealant in that eventually after I knock out rust, paint it, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's already got knockout rust in it. And I'll just put enough just to seal it. That's it. Don't need to fill the whole car up with sealant. I just don't understand what the hell they were thinking about. So something that bit me on the arse from 4 years ago when I started the project. When I was cleaning up in here, I went, oh, I can see light of day. So what I'd done is I tried to, as you can see from this, weld some pinholes where there was rusty metal. You know, overall the metal wasn't too bad, it sort of cleaned up okay, but really it's not okay. So just cut that out, went that way actually, and back to our right hand rear quarter, the one I've done twice now. This is the panel that just didn't have enough material on it, so that was the old material and it wasn't a rare spares part. So good scrap metal, so don't throw this sort of stuff out. And I'll just cut a piece of that out. I'll just mark it, rough cut it, put it on the linisher so it fits in nice, and go and weld it in. Cool. Right, I think it's recording, can't tell. That's that little panel in there that I've put in, and right at the moment I've just got rust converter on all bare metal. That's why it's all wet. Doing its piece, and while it's doing that, and all the bare bits, I thought, oh, I'll quickly have a look at the loom for the trailer. Now the book says that this thing came from dealer with a factory fitted tow bar. The yellow wire goes to the tow plug or one of the trail plug, and check it out. That is 1A1. How not to do wiring. That's rubbish. If you're going to do wire together, then you need to tin plate each end, so cut it off a centimetre each, tin plate it, as in solder it, and then join the solder bits together. If you're going to not use a crimp, but that's just rubbish. I'm not surprised, but you know, it wouldn't come out of the factory like that. But who knows what dealers do? So I wonder what this one's got. Surprise. Another quality join, no doubt. What do we got? Oh yes, nice. It's like it was done in a bloody kindergarten. Anyway, I'll remove that and crimp that together. Righto, she's slow progress, but it's progress. So this is cleaned up good enough to paint over now. So what I'm going to do, my strategic plan. Oh, crap. Sorry about that. I might delete that film. Righto, we're cleaned up, good to go for paint and corrosion protection. So what I'm going to do is, these products are all pretty much the same. So going to use the knockout rust first. Like this stuff, this is good. And this is some stuff I did a long time ago. And like I said, that area wasn't good, and I've tried to patch it, and it's still not great. And in fact, there's little pinholes through there still. But at the end of the day, this is all covered. You can't see it. So it's just, you know, how long's a piece of string with these cars? I could cut that out and weld it in and keep going, but I think I'd be doing it for the rest of my life. So unless you cut out that entire fascia, I'm not about to do that, because you'd have to cut it out through here, and really it's not that bad. Those holes are from when I broke away the spot weld. So and you can see now the welds come through there instead of there, so that's nothing. I'm not too bothered by that. Those little bits, we'll put some knockout rust on that and that'll be fine. Like I said, did some extensive repairs along here. Just hit them with kill rust. So not kill rust, what did I use? Rust converter yesterday. I just welded that on. This holds the carpet in the Fairmont GXL. So it's just little brackets where the carpet comes over here. So like I said, all this is covered up, and as long as we've got metal, we've got no bog, and you know, that'll clean up good. I'm pretty happy with that. That's the little panel I put in the other day. Bit of weld fill in there. Look, she's all right. New quarter in there. So you could keep cleaning and get the dirt stain out of. But you'll be here for a month of Sundays and you're not going to achieve it. Well, I don't think you'll achieve anything. These are the holes I filled up. I couldn't get a grinder in there. I'm not really worried about it. You can see the original fill that the car has in it. So, you know, like this is all original, all that stuff. Like this, it's all original. So, you know, overall, what we're doing here is better than what it came out with. I did some extra welding on these brackets here. Obviously this is a structural piece, so I well filled those and just put a couple of tacks there and there, filled them up just to, you know, make that strong out of that base, because obviously that, and these things are just spot welded in place. That's it. There's a bolt that goes through there for the bumper bar. So yeah, when you look at them in detail, you think, geez, they slapped them together. There was a bit of light corrosion down here. I pulled that metal back, cleaned all the bog out, rust converted it, and now again knockout rust. I'll just fill that up. So what I'll be doing is knockout rust for all this back fascia, kill rust paint all through here. Then I'll come back when the membrane dries, you can spray over this stuff, and I'll kill rust over the top of all that, and then I'll use the car sealant as a last. So I bought a tube of automotive sealant, and it can be painted over as well, but I'd rather have you know, kill rust and knockout rust on my bare metal, which has been converted, by the way. So it should all be good. Should all be good up in there. Did all that. So we'll get on with that now. Okay, that's the first hit of paint anyway. Pretty happy with that. Looks pretty good. Haven't spray painted in here because I've just, as you can see, just buried it with knockout rust. And with this stuff, you can wipe off the excess with a bit of terps. Those drips there, they'll just wipe off. In here, I'm not going to wipe it off. I'll just let the membrane dry and spray over it again with the kill rust. And it's starting to dry up nice. You can see how that came up. You know, how good do you want your boot? I'm more than happy with that. That's going to be just fine. So moving right along, just clean the old bench down because it was just filthy from all the metal I've been cutting them. Just a tip from me, I use terps, pretty much use terps for everything. And we want a nice clean bench to do some electrical work. So this is the loom out of the back of the car, and it had a couple of extras because of LPG, so I'll demodify that, but we'll keep that one because that's for the fuel sender. So we're going to need that when we get a proper, or not a proper fuel tank, but a wet fuel tank. And there should be an extra wire in here somewhere because I've also modified this car. It's got an electric boot release, which was a option, I believe. So that's what I found. They have another XC. Actually, no, it was a Fairlane that I wrecked. So what you'll need, terps and a rag, clean the loom down before you start working on it. Heat shrink, super cheap, J-car, cheapest chips these days. It used to be expensive, it's not now. Some solder, cheapest chips. Soldering iron, again, you can get them for next to nothing. And I might get a wire holder, because I'm not going to crimp these wires together. I'm going to cut them and solder them together. So I'll tin plate them and solder them. So it's hard when you film by yourself. Anyway, that's life. So one of these little doohickeys. I bought this in Malaysia, so that's what you do on holidays. You buy stuff that your wife goes, really? So anyway, little device, it's got a magnifying glass. I've seen these on eBay, I've seen these, I think I saw it at J-car. I'm sure, I've seen them in Australia. They're not dear, they're just not dear. So really handy, and I'll show you that a bit later once we get moving on.